Okay, folks, we have reached the end of the 2018 NFL season. Before we get started with today's show, I thought I would come on here and do a quick rundown up to our top three and also throw out a few quick awards I forgot to mention later on in the show. So let's get to it. Rounding out the bottom is Big Ben 07, who finished out the season with 163 points, only picking through the playoffs in Week 17. Freebird nabs 13th with 1,315 points, who didn't get any points throughout the postseason, dropping him a spot. Hobo Samurai finishes in 12th with 1,339, only 9 points behind 11th spot Raider Nation 77, who had 1,348 points. So Win starts our top 10 with 1,398 points, a mere 3 points behind 9th spot NFL Super Pro, who had 1,401 points. Thug and Harmony stays in 8th with 1,417, and their New England pick kept them there, with no worries of a tiebreaker to possibly drop a spot. Stizzy Stomper's pick of the Rams winning the Super Bowl cost him his 6th place spot as he nets 0 for the week, leaving him at 1,445. And passing him up to 6th is Wilvis, who picked the Patriots, getting him 16 and 1,450 points overall. Of note, this is the only spot change of the week based on Super Bowl points. Getting up to the top 5, Mamaw Cat had a chance to nab 4th, but took the Rams, keeping her unmoving at 1,457 points. While the Bungles, who also took the Rams, ended up staying in 4th with 1,463 points. Remember, the top 3 will get their showcase near the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. Now, some of the accolades I had forgot to mention in our later segment. I cannot believe I forgot to talk about the person that won the most weeks this year. 11th place Raider Nation ripped off 4 weeks won throughout the 2018 season, and both were back-to-back wins. One set was Week 4 and Week 5, and then Week 13 and 14. There were 5 others that won 2 weeks during the season, but no one came close to getting 4 weeks won. And let's talk the worst performer and best performer of the season. We take a look at the results through half of the season and compare them to the final placement after the Super Bowl to figure this one up. The worst performer of the NFL season, NFL Super Pro, who at the end of the week was sitting tied for 4th, and by the end of the year had dropped considerably to 9th place. And if you take a look at the best performer of the season, halfway through, Mamaw Cat sits in 9th place at the end of Week 10. And then, as you look at the end of the season, Mamaw Cat had made her way up to the top 5, performing very well in that second part of the season. Now, let's get to our conversation with Pat Mullin and round out this roundup for the 2018 Pigskin Pick'em season. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our final PPR podcast, coming back at you for the last time for the 2018-2019 season. And I was saving the best for last. That's right. We are bringing back Pat Mullin right here to the show so we can discuss our thoughts on the Super Bowl and also our thoughts on how the season went and where Pat placed.
Toxically masculine, tight in the abdomen. I am ready for anything.
Nice. Very nice. So, okay, Super Bowl happens this past Sunday. We have the New England Patriots facing the Los Angeles Rams. And to call it lackluster, I don't know. I mean, here's the deal. Jesse sits at his house. He says to himself the past 3 weeks, I need to go get myself a digital antenna. See, we don't have the old cable running here. My plan was to go get an antenna so I can at least pick up the game somehow. I could have streamed it through my phone, but I wasn't on board for that. Come time Sunday, and I'm like, I don't have an antenna. So I didn't watch the game other than just catch up on the highlights that were popping up on my phone, which were very few and far between. And I mean, I'm sitting there and it's like, I think we're crossing the 7 o'clock gap and nobody scored yet. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why is there nobody putting points on the board? Oh, my notifications have got to be off. Nope, that's not the case. It's not a highlight-driven football game. You don't have, oh my gosh, all year, NFL had popped up notifications. You've got to see this catch. Oh my gosh, check out this run. Highlights from players after, players every week in and week out. But this big game seemed to have been at least very quiet. So, Pat, I don't know. I would assume you're probably like every other red-blooded American man, Mr. Toxic Masculinity yourself. Did you watch the game?
I did. Now, I know this game has taken its share of flack from everybody watching. I can say that I'm in the minority on this game because I actually really enjoyed it, and not just because I've made a significant amount of money off it. So, but I'm in the minority on this in that I enjoyed the game from start to finish. Because if you know anything about toxic masculinity, you know that one of the things you love is hits.
Okay.
And I'm from that old school that grew up watching NFL films of Super Bowl 1, 2, 3, 4, Super Bowls in the 70s, Super Bowls up until about the mid-90s, where a lot of those affairs were just defensive struggles through the whole way. And are usually made or broken by defensive plays. And having been a free safety in high school, I love strong defense. And I love this game because this game had a lot of strong defense. It wasn't necessarily offensive miscues or things of that nature. There were a couple here and there, but this game was highlighted by strong defense, by great defensive plays and players on both sides. That's what made this game to me.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything that stood out to you amongst the defensive play that the Patriots pulled off really well?
I figured based on the stat line that Julian Edelman was going to win the MVP because we're in a league that favors offense.
Yeah.
But, man, if it was up to me, Dante Hightower would have won the MVP. That guy was flying all over the field, hitting anything that moved, making great plays, coming with a lot of pressure towards Jared Goff. I was just so impressed by his all-around play, and this is the third time in a Super Bowl he's really stood out as just an incredible player who doesn't get enough credit. So I really believe that Dante Hightower was just a revelation in that game and didn't get recognized for it.
I was not going to pick the Patriots this year. I had, like I said earlier, I had wrote these guys off. I don't know. It was probably, I'd say mid-season. I was like, these guys don't have what it takes. And then I think that the New England team fed off of that because there were so many people that were just like me, had said, these guys suck. They're not going to – Tom Brady is too old. This team is a team of nobodies that's not going to make it. And it seemed like week after week, especially towards the end of the season, they just kept continuing to defy expectation. It was like nothing to them, though. It wasn't like it was a nail biter every single time. These guys were able to secure the victory, and it was almost like as soon as they got deep into the postseason, the writing was on the wall. The New England Patriots were going to go to the Super Bowl. As much as I railed against it, as much as I picked against them every single time, because hey, it can't be their year. This can't be their year. Now, has Brady come out and said that he is actually going to return next year? Do you know?
He has. He's basically guaranteed that he'll be back next year, saying, after something like this, how could you want to quit? It just makes you want to keep going.
I can't blame Tom Brady for wanting to come back. I mean, I would love to be paid the amount of money that he does and be as successful as he is at playing football. Why would you want to stop? Why would you want to stop?
And, again, I know there was a lot of talk about Brady not looking like Brady and, he's lost a step. He's not the same player he was. Again, this year statistics, 11-5 in his record, 66 completion percentage, threw for 4,355 yards, 29 TDs, 11 INTs. You average those numbers against his career average. His career completion percentage is 64, so he bettered that.
Yep.
Yards per attempt, about the same, 7.6 to 7.5 for his career.
Mm-hmm.
TD to INT ratio, a little bit higher than normal. His career ratio is about 5 to 1.5. This year it was about 3 to 1. But again, 3 to 1 TD to INT ratio is pretty good. just above single-digit INTs. And let's face it, this was the first time in a long time where he's had a substantial support from his running game, where he didn't necessarily have to do as much.
True. Very true. You got to think also, Tom Brady may have lost a step, but okay, if you're going to go and say that, this is still Tom Brady we're talking about. There's probably quarterbacks in this league that are 5 steps behind him anyway. So it's not like Tom Brady is going to lose a whole lot just because he's starting to, the age might start to show. No, I mean, he is still able to produce. He's still able to, clearly, he just went to the Super Bowl. He didn't have a spectacular game. 2018 New England Patriots are the definition of perseverance, in my opinion. Sticking to it, getting through the season, and heading to the Super Bowl and winning the trophy. I don't know, man. I don't think we'll ever see a duo like Bill Belichick and Tom Brady ever again in our lifetime. I mean, it's going to be rare, if that. I'm just looking at Tom Brady just to see. I don't think he's never had a losing season, dude. Never. There's never been a season that he's played. I'm looking at his quarterback record. Every season, except for the 2008 season, which he went 1-0 apparently, but he was injured for the rest of the year. But every season has been a winning season. There hasn't been one season where he won less than 10 games other than 2 seasons. That was the 2008 and 2002 season. So, I mean, dude, Tom Brady, Hall of Famer, easy. So, anything else about the Super Bowl there?
Yeah, again, I think, you have to give some respect to a lot of the special teams efforts that we saw that are getting overlooked. The main narrative of this game, in popular opinion, is that it was a terrible game because the offenses didn't light up the scoreboard the same way we saw, the past few years. I loved it. Terrific game. It's a poor narrative. Rather than highlight the deficiencies of the offense, we should be talking about how well defense played, how great special teams was on each side of pinning offenses inside the 10-yard line to start their drives. Really, a lot of good football played. It just shows a lot of lack of understanding on the public end about what a good football game really is.
Let me tell you a little something about the Los Angeles Rams this year. I was just looking through their schedule. I mean, they scored 3 points in the Super Bowl against the Patriots, okay? And if you look at their score across the schedule that they played, they averaged, Siri, what's 527 divided by 16? 32.9375. Okay, so
let's say 33.
Yeah, they averaged 33 points per game, and they go into the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots and are only able to put 3 points on the board.
You know what, though? And a lot was made of the New England defense at the start of the year not being great. All it takes is a couple weeks to gel. And if you look at the New England defensive performances through the rest of the year after the first 4 weeks, with the exception of playing some very good teams like the Chicago Bears, a slip on a banana peel against the Titans, and that last-minute miracle against the Dolphins.
Never forget that.
That hurt a lot of our pick'ems this year.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't hurt mine enough to stop me, but it hurt that week. Those are really the only points. Those are really the only games where they allowed a strong offensive opposition. Otherwise, if you look at this, even in games they lost during that time, they weren't letting the other team put up a lot of points. Okay, you're looking at a strong defense, and this is preparing from week to week. You give Bill Belichick 2 weeks' time to prepare with a defense that's managed to put itself together and gel, have everybody figure out their roles and their chemistry. That is a recipe to not see points against you.
Yeah.
Credit to Brian Flores, too. Everybody talks about Josh McDaniels when they talk about coordinators in New England. Brian Flores put together a strong defense, and he deserves a lot of credit for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. Well, that's the Super Bowl. New England Patriots 13, Los Angeles Rams 3. From what I understand, it was the lowest scoring Super Bowl, I think, in history. Again, it was a record-breaking Super Bowl for Belichick and Brady. So it's an okay way to cap off the season, especially for our pick'em here. You mentioned something earlier about the award winners for the year. Hit me with your thoughts on the NFL awards that were given there.
So I actually think they did a fairly good job for the most part about picking the right people for the right awards. And that's rare that I can really say for the most part I agree with what they did. I think there's an argument to be made as far as offensive player of the year. I think Saquon Barkley really could have taken that part because if you look at the comparison between him and Patrick Mahomes, I think Mahomes is in a much better situation vis-a-vis his role than Saquon Barkley is in his role.
Yes, absolutely.
So if there's really a point of contention I have with these awards, I really do think that Saquon Barkley deserved the Offensive Player of the Year award. I know that Patrick Mahomes had an incredible year and well-deserved to get the accolades he did, but when you look at Saquon Barkley, you look at what he did on a team where Eli Manning, you want to talk about Tom Brady losing steps, Eli Manning did not have it this year. So Saquon Barkley consistently faced teams that knew they could throw 9 in the box to try to stop him and contain him, and they couldn't do it. He would bust through, find ways consistently every week to score, to pick up over 100 yards from scrimmage, 2,000 yards from scrimmage on a team where that shouldn't be possible. He was as explosive a back as we've seen since Barry Sanders. If there's one real point of contention I really feel that he should have been the Offensive Player of the Year. And I am very happy with the result that they picked the Defensive Rookie of the Year to be Darius Leonard.
Yeah, tell me about this guy. Give me a description of this guy who supposedly goes by the nickname Maniac.
Darius Leonard was a rookie linebacker for the Colts this year. I believe he finished in the leading the league in tackles. That is a ball hawk right there. A guy who sees the play happening and goes and gets it.
He did. 111 tackles solo. He's first in the league.
I think he would have won the Defensive Player of the Year award had he not been partially exposed in the playoff game against Kansas City. In the Kansas City game, Andy Reid took advantage of the idea of him playing zone, and they used those reads to beat him over the middle of the field by confusing him with different looks and going to Travis Kelce. I think that one game cost him Defensive Player of the Year, which went to Aaron Donald of the LA Rams, who, again, Aaron Donald had a good game in the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald was really the anchor of that defense all year. Got some support from Ndamukong Suh. When Aqib Talib came back, they were a little healthier, but he was really carrying the load for that defense and didn't see full support until over midway through the season when he got a healthy Aqib Talib back, when they made the trade for Dante Fowler from Jacksonville. So I can understand him winning that because Darius Leonard had one bad game in such a high-profile game. And congratulations to Comeback Player of the Year, Andrew Luck, who I don't think any of us expected to have the season he did. Well-earned, well-deserved. Happy to see him back in that role. His arm had been completely destroyed, basically. He had issues in his neck with the disc. He was just a physical wreck. They made the playoffs. They had a hell of a run at the end of the season. Just a bad luck effort against a really good Kansas City team. But it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. You have any predictions for next year before we hop into our accolades for the season?
I think the team to watch next year is going to be the Chicago Bears. I think they took some tremendous steps forward this year. And again, I said he wasn't ready this year. Once Pat Mahomes gets two elements to his game, once he gets that recognition and ability to audible at the line of scrimmage, when he can change those plays on the fly, and when he can recognize the patterns of the defense, he's going to be the man for a long time to come.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen a player play at the level that he does so early in their career. That's what's scary. Hopefully everything will go swimmingly for that young man, and he continues to play at the level that he has been, and he doesn't get sidelined by some unfortunate, injury like we usually see with a lot of the up-and-coming stars sometimes. I don't know what their off-season moves are going to be, but they're really going to have to mess something up in order to sabotage anything for next season because the writing's on the wall. These guys are damn good. Let's talk turkey here. What we'll do right now is we're going to kind of run down some of the accomplishments that a lot of our players in the Pigskin Pick'em that happened this year. And I think the first thing we're going to start out with is the perfect week. The perfect week. So, what you want to do, and the best thing that you could possibly do any given week is to have every game right. I mean, that's the goal. If you get every game right, you're not going to have to really worry about points because you got every single point that's out there. And we only had one that happened this year, and that was by the Bungles, formerly known as, I think it was the Perfect Storm, who changed his
Storm.
The Perfect Storm. He ends up changing his name midway through the season because he's a little upset with the way the Bengals are playing. But he comes in on week 8, and I'm going to pull this up here real quick. And he goes straight through, not missing one single game, and that is the only time somebody actually had a perfect week in throughout the season. Now, Thug and Harmony actually came really close, and it was a Minnesota-New Orleans game there that same week, and he picked Minnesota and ended up coming in second, missed 3 points on him.
That was a rough game to have to pick, because I'll tell you, I had a parlay going that week that I felt real good about. And that was the one game that was a swing game that could have gone either way. So I actually bet the parlay twice with each team on one of them because I was that unsure of that game.
That conflicted. Yeah, you only took one, too, on Minnesota here, it looks like, that week. So, yeah, a lot of people, there were a couple of people that took some high numbers there, but most of them were usually down in the single digits, if not 5 or below. Congratulations to Bungles walking away with the Perfect Week Award, and the only person to walk away with the Perfect Week Award this year. So let's talk about our next subject, which are the players that played all year. Okay, these are the parameters. You got to play all year, but did not win a week through the regular season. Okay, if you take a look at the standings right now, you'll see there's 3 people on that list that do not have any green throughout the weeks.
I almost qualified for that.
Yeah, you did. You waited till the very last minute, almost the very last minute. Week 16, you ended up winning pretty handily there. Actually, you tied with somebody, and let me talk about that here in just a second. So if you look at that, like I said, you'll see 3 names. You'll see Stizzy Stompers, which is me. So I'm on there, no wins. You also see Thug and Harmony has no green to his name, and you also see Hobo Samurai with no green to his name. So I dug a little deeper, all right? And it turns out, if you take a look, that week that you won, Pat, Hobo Samurai, actually, which is Teasley, ends up tying with you that week. Strike his name off the list.
However, we will add in the reason I won that week would be due to tiebreakers.
That's right. We do have tiebreakers. That's why you ended up having you ended up having the green, and I didn't even look to see what the tiebreaker was for that week, what it came down to. I know we picked this is the most ridiculous 4 things you got to pick for tiebreakers. I'm like, go on points. I would assume it's at least you would just pick the score like the Monday night game. But no, they're like, okay, who scored this and who's going to score that and who's going to score the least points, who's going to score the most points. But either way, yes, you ended up taking it because of the tiebreaker. So Hobo Samurai ties for first, we'll say point-wise, okay? And then you take a look at Thug. Now, Thug walks away. He has, in his season, in week 8, he ties for second, loses by 3 to a perfect week by the Bungles, okay? And then week 15, he's second place by 6. But if you go to week 3 and take a look, he scored 76 points that week, tying with Wilvis for first. So the only person that did not either tie for first or get first place is me. I am the one that walks away with nothing. Third, the highest I had third place in week 1, and I was behind first by 3 points there. This is a lucky number 3, by the way. So third in week number 1 because I fell behind first by 3 points. And in week 11, I was third there as well, and I was behind first by 3 points.
Boy, we all stunk in week 11 now, didn't we?
Yeah, shoot. Mamaw Cat didn't even pick the Thursday night game and missed 5 games, and she got first. So total, actually, she would, if you count the first game, she didn't have 6 games, and she was still able to pull off first. So, all right, next up, the points players. Okay, these are the people who did a great job weighing their points versus picking their games. Okay, now the point of that is, if you take a look at where they placed after points were all said and done, and you then take a look at the record that they have picking the people who win versus the teams who lose, their points are the only thing that really saved them this year. So let's start with NFL Super Pro. NFL Super Pro, he was able to nab 9th place in the points, but if you take a look at his his game record, he would have actually been 14th in the overall record. He was at least smart enough to put the points where it wouldn't do him the worst damage. Now, same thing with Mamaw Cat. Mamaw Cat, she's able to get 5th place. She finishes out in the top 5 for the year with points. But if you take a look at that pick percentage or the record that she would have ended up with 10th. So again, these two players both, like, there are 5 spots in between where they finished with points versus if we wouldn't have had points and just went off record. So congratulations to you two. You guys obviously did a great job knowing where to put your points. That leads me to our next award here, which is the E for effort. And that's Big Ben 07, who goes into the season, joins our pick'em, and for 17 weeks picks the games but doesn't put any points on them. And then when the playoffs hit, the man or the woman, I have no idea who this is still, begins to put points on the games. Actually, no, they did do week 17. So my bad. They went 16 weeks, no points, but they picked the games. But yeah, big E for effort. They picked all year. I mean, at least they participated in some way. We had 2 people that dropped out, White Dwayne and Ronnie, who lasted I don't know, maybe near half the season. Dwayne a little bit more than that, and then they kind of dropped out. But Big Ben 07 sticks it out and makes some picks. We appreciate that. All right, now for what you've all came for. Let's start with the record. Now, points are what we usually base this game on, but we are also treated to the revelation. Yahoo is nice enough to show us what our record is. So what I want to do is I want to go top 3 to 1. Here we go. All right, 3rd place, best pick record. Steel Curtain with 170 correct versus 95 wrong. 64% pick percentage correct there. Then we have the Bungles.
I'll give a golf clap for that.
Golf clap. Then we have the Bungles. The Bungles come in 2nd with a pretty impressive 174 games correct versus 91 wrong. 65%. What do you think? All right, a little bit louder. And then first place, ladies and gentlemen, first place, our guest here tonight, totally 80s Pat, man. Congratulations. 177 games correct versus the 88 wrong. 66%. Man, congratulations.
I mean, is that even possible? Did he really not even lose 90? He really didn't. And I should say that's with one Yahoo gaff where they did not allow me to put points on one game during a week, which would have put me in 2nd place that week instead of, I think I finished in 4th. But nonetheless, I fought on.
You did.
And I wanted to leave no doubt about anything. So you see the record there. That's just part 1 of the equation. But I am extremely proud of that record. That was not to be touched.
We're moving on here to the award of the 2018 NFL season for the Pick'em. PPR award goes to the person with the most points. We'll run them down 3 to 1 here. Top 3, Steel Curtain gets 3rd place with 1,503 points. Now, I believe they have. There's the golf clap. I know that we went into this week. Steel Curtain had the chance to make a move potentially if Go Luck Yourself, who sits currently in 2nd, would have picked the Rams. We may have had a different outset here with Steel Curtain in 2nd, but however, we do not, as both Steel Curtain and Go Luck Yourself took New England, leaving Go Luck Yourself in 2nd place with 1,513 points.
Heck of an effort.
Yes, sir. And congratulations to this year's winner, totally 80s Pat, with 1,551 points. You didn't even have to pick the Super Bowl, but you did because you wanted that record. You walked away with the victory. Pat, the floor is yours. Let us know what your thoughts are.
Boy, that means that not only did I have the best win-loss percentage, but that I weighted the games the best of anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that there can be no doubt as to who was actually the best player in every regard in this league.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have it on record where Pat Mullin sent me a message. And it was, I don't know, probably week 8. I don't know if we even hit halfway yet. Maybe we had, but it was pretty early on in the season. Pat says to me, my goal is to have the best record and the most points by the end of the season. So what I did at that point is I said, thanks for playing Tom Brady. I'm writing you off. And I wrote Pat Mullin off. I said, no way is he going to do that. That can't be possible. I cannot congratulate you enough for actually doing what you said. Pat Mullin says stuff, and he does it. Folks, he said it and he did it. You don't get much better than that. So
I want to thank you, Jesse, for inviting me to be a part of this again. Tremendous amount of fun. And unsurprisingly, it's a lot more fun when you win, and you do so in undisputed fashion, where you don't just win the points. You don't just have the best record where someone could say, oh, well, I weighted the games better than you did. Or, well, maybe I weighted the games, but I had a better record. I decided to do them both just to avoid any misconception of who really was tops this year. And I thank Go Luck Yourself. I thank Steel Curtain. I thank the Bungles, who had an incredible record. I thank all of them for pushing me to be the player I was. I want to thank the National Football League for listening to me when they needed to and doing things correctly within those games to propel me to that top spot. I want to thank some of my consistent picks this year, among them the Los Angeles Chargers, who I know I scored a lot of points off of, the Chicago Bears, who I know I scored a lot of points off of, and believe it or not, the Miami Dolphins, who I generally picked correctly enough, but they screwed everybody else enough to really help me out most of the time. So thank you to the Miami Dolphins as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all enjoyed this. I had a good time doing the podcast. I think next year, if we can get some more people in on this thing, it'll be a lot of fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the PPR podcast for 2018. That is the winner, the MVP, Pat Mullin. I'm Jesse Starcher. We'll be talking to you sometime in the future. Have a good one. Bye-bye.